All right, so moving along, assignment 3, we have gotten to a workable, usable, practicable assignment that should become a journey, really. So that some of those things become tools that become ideas, then become vocabulary, and then you're using them with the understanding that the trap is muscle memory. So when you're using things that become vocabulary, always keep in mind what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and those kinds of things. And so for this one, it's really more of an assignment too, and it's intended to follow the same path that assignment 4 does or did. And that's, I'll call it linear harmony, just to, it's my own system. Kidding. But what I'd like you to do is to really hone in on finding your root on the B string, so that since guitar players play a lot in high ranges, or people want them to, or get excited when they do, you'll need to be able to do that. Imagine that. You also want to utilize all of your fretboard, and so in your index shape, you find your root on the B string, and so you can find it that way if you'd like, or I would recommend learning the B string, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, at least learn it up to the 12th fret, because then it repeats itself, right? So, that root, it can be an idea in itself, attacking the one. I've talked about that before. But since we're really focusing in on harmony, what you want to be able to do, without a style of music in mind, by the way, is play thirds to a root of a chord, starting on the 1 chord, following your whole half pattern, your major minor pattern, ascending and descending. So for instance, if I did choose A, we all know the 1 chord is major and there's a major third. 2 chords a whole step away and it's minor, so it's not this shape, it's that shape. 3 chords minor, 4 chords major, 5 chords major, 6 chords major, or minor, sorry. 7 chord, depending, and we're talking about thirds, so I'm just going to call it minor. And lo and behold, A is the furthest I can go on my guitar, and so at least getting to the root again. So you want to be able to descend. So we're back to 1. Here's A1. 7 is a half step behind, it's minor. 6 is minor. Again, I'm following the whole half pattern and my major minor pattern. 5 is major. 4 is major. 3 is minor, so it's actually an open string. And then I run out of options. Whoops. And so that's basically it. So you don't want to choose A every time. G, and I'm out of tune, but oh well. G, same thing, so there's G. If I didn't know that, I'd have to find it, right? B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, or I could have found it that way. Again, it's advantageous for me to know where the notes are, because if we're jamming in G, you can bet I'm going to do that at some point, and I'm going to do that off putting my index on the root, because then my middle is naturally on the 6. 1. Opens up that whole box, which I don't like that language, but so anywho, do it for G, of course, too, up and back. So 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, one chord. And the thing that a person's brain will automatically like to do is feel lost. You're at a point where you may get that feeling or not necessarily know the notes you're playing, only care about where am I going. If I'm in G, let's say I've gotten up to the 5 chord and doesn't matter if I'm ascending or descending. The 5 chord root is right here, and so all I need to know is that if I'm ascending, is the 6 is a whole step away and it's minor. If I'm descending, all I need to know is that 4 is a whole step below and it's major. And if I'm descending still, 3 is right behind 4 and it's minor. And 2 is a whole step behind 3 and it's minor. And 1 is a whole step below 2 and it's major. Or 7 is a half step behind and it's minor. Or 6 is, right? Sorry. So, give that a try. And don't try to be fast about it. Try to really lock into one key first. Learn that key pretty well, enough to practice it. Ascending and descending. And so if G happened to be it, practice in G or A or F or E or whatever it is, you'll find you run out of room in one direction and the other. Those are learning the boundaries of your fretboard. It takes a long time, so that you don't jump into a place that you can't finish a thought because you can't either get higher or you can't get lower without going down the strings or something to that effect. And so the other thing I would pay heed to a little is, excuse me, assignment 3 tips. And that's kind of staying around a little area and really working a little area until that little area is so locked in you can't not do it. So for instance, if I'm in G and I go 1 chord to 2 chord, I'm just making up some rhythms, but it can just be straight. And then I would throw in the 7 chord because it's still so close, it's the closest to home base. And so you work that little area of 1 chord, 2 chord, 1 chord, 7 chord. Then maybe get up to the 3 chord. Whatever. It's not a race, and don't think of it that way. You're really employing a couple of thoughts at the same time. You're saying, I'm going to find the root of where key I'm going to choose on the B string. After I do that, I'm going to think of my whole half pattern and my major minor pattern. Those two things can become muscle memory, meaning a major third shape is this and a minor is this. Right, so that's the trap, falling into muscle memory. Eventually, it's going to happen. Your brain says, I've thought about this enough and I'm not going to think about it anymore. And if you get to that point, then great. But as long as you can still answer the question of what am I doing and how, then more power to you. Man, I picked a bad morning to speak. I got a frog in my throat. Amen. So there it is. Assignment number 4. Let's call it linear harmony so we're cool. Call it our own system. And pick a key, a few keys at least, and work a small area. And then ascend, descend, and don't be lost. It doesn't matter. Let's say I'm here on a 1 chord. I know a 7 chord is a half step below that and it's minor. I know a 6 chord is a whole step below that, right? And then a 5 chord, and then a 4 chord, and a 3 chord. And a 1 chord. Turns out I was an E.